Badrama nzaryama ari uko mbonye intumbi yawe mu gihugu cy'u Rwanda.
Nta kibazo.
Ndabikubwiye nitwa Ani ndashaka kuzabona intumbi yawe uri i Kigali. Uri kumva?
Nge nzabona iy'abana.
Kuba warabonye passport.
Wambwiye ko wabyara.
Kuba warabonye passport.
Intumbi zawe z'abana bawe.
Zagaragara mbere yo kubona. Umva uyu mwaka utarashira intumbi yawe nzayibona i Kigali. Imana dusenga dukorera turasenga amanywa nijoro. U Rwanda turarusengera. Rwanda is wonderful for this world.
It started like any other live stream. The comments were scrolling, the digital debate was heating up, and then a caller identified as Anne took the floor. She didn't want to debate policy. She didn't want to discuss the economy. She had a very specific vision for the future. She told the host, Badrama, that she wanted to see his dead body in Kigali before the end of this year. She added that it would happen as God wills. That wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't a heated political jab. It was a targeted, public declaration of intent to see a man killed. This is Rwanda Digest. Today we are looking at the shrinking distance between Kigali's political machine and critics living thousands of miles away in the West. When a supporter of the Rwandan regime makes a death threat on a live social media broadcast, it's easy to dismiss it as the rhetoric of an extremist fan. But context matters, and in the world of Rwandan opposition politics, words like these rarely exist in a vacuum. Badrama has spent the last year becoming a major headache for the establishment in Kigali. Through daily social media revelations, he has methodically picked apart narratives, questioned official accounts, and tracked the movements of those in power. To his supporters, he is a truth teller. To the state, he is a destabilizing force. When Anne, a self-professed supporter of President Paul Kagame, spoke those words, she wasn't just venting frustration. She was invoking a pattern. We have to ask, where does this confidence come from? Why does a private citizen living abroad feel empowered to openly threaten a critic with physical elimination? To understand the weight of this threat, we have to look at the track record of the killing machine that regime critics frequently describe. This isn't just about one woman on a microphone. It's about the documented history of transnational repression. For years, human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have detailed a clear strategy. If you cannot silence a critic within Rwanda, you track them. If you cannot track them, you intimidate them. And if the intimidation fails, the methods often escalate. We've seen the pattern before. In 2014, Patrick Karagaya, the former head of Rwandan external intelligence, was found strangled in a hotel room in Johannesburg. No one was ever convicted for his murder, but the trail of evidence pointed directly toward Rwandan operatives. In 2010, Kayumba Nyamwasa, another former general, survived an assassination attempt in the same city. These aren't just isolated criminal cases, they are geopolitical signals. They are intended to show that no border, no passport, and no foreign police force can provide absolute sanctuary from the long arm of the state. James Kabarebe, a central figure in the Rwandan security apparatus and a former Minister of Defense. Her threats align chillingly with rhetoric that has emerged from the top of the chain of command in the past.
Nyuma yaho gatoya His Excellency araza. His Excellency aje arantumiza kugira ngo mbe EDDK we umufisi muri hafi kuri buri kintu cyose. His Excellency yatanze amabwiriza kuri training ya RDF. Kandi kamana ni chief cyavuze gihinduka itegeko. Yaravuze ngo ndashaka RDF kuba trained kuba a killing machine. Aho iciye ntagire igisigara. Niyo training rero tubona. Niyo training tubaha. So bari better than we are. Ku buryo nta n'impungenge dufite about the next generation.
We have heard language from high-ranking officials suggesting that those who betray the nation should expect to pay a price, regardless of where they hide. When that rhetoric trickles down to the grassroots level, to the supporters, the digital foot soldiers, and the activists, it creates a dangerous environment where violence becomes normalized. But here is where the dynamic shifts. Badrama lives in the United States. He operates under the protection of the First Amendment, in a country where freedom of speech is a foundational legal principle. When the regime's supporters threaten him on American soil, they aren't just attacking an individual, they are challenging the sovereignty of the host nation. So, what does this tell us about the current state of the Rwandan regime? It suggests a deep underlying anxiety. If the government were truly confident in its narrative and its stability, it would ignore the critics. Instead, we see heightened sensitivity to digital dissent. Every revelation Badrama makes, every document, every link, every inconsistency he highlights, seems to force the regime into a more defensive posture. When they can't win the argument, they try to win the room. And when they can't win the room, they resort to the threat of silence. This brings us to a critical warning. For those operating in investigative journalism or opposition commentary, the digital world has real-world consequences. Public records and historical precedents show that the tactics aren't always loud threats like the one Anne made. Sometimes they are quiet. They involve social engineering, the infiltration of inner circles, and, according to various credible allegations, the use of sophisticated toxins that are difficult to trace. If Badrama is fit and healthy today, and something were to happen to him tomorrow, these public threats already establish political culpability. When you tell the world you want to see someone dead, you forfeit the benefit of the doubt. The mystery here isn't who made the threat, that's on record. The mystery is how much longer this can continue before an international incident occurs on American or European soil. The international community, particularly the US State Department and the intelligence services of host nations, is increasingly aware of these transnational repression operations. The era where regimes could treat foreign capitals as their own backyards for settling scores is closing. What we know is that the threats against critics are becoming more brazen, not less. What we don't know is if the authorities will finally move beyond condemnation and into active preventative protection. Does this threat change how you view the safety of critics living in the diaspora? Are these just empty words from an angry supporter, or a symptom of a much darker state policy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you appreciate this kind of deep dive into the realities behind the headlines, consider subscribing to the channel Rwanda Digest.